Hello everyone, welcome back to On the Fly. Today we're going to be recapping day 2 of the Olympic women's event. So we'll get right on into it, starting with today's scores. 5-2, Russia did beat the Swiss team, and really just in dominant fashion. Not too surprising out of the Russian team. They are a team that's going to dominate in this tournament, not as much as Canada or the US will, or Finland for that matter as well, but they are going to be sort of that force in Group A. And they most likely will come out of the sort of that 4th, 5th spot. Which makes sense for where they are as a team. They're not going to knock out a team like Canada, the U.S., but they will end up sort of in that 4th or 3rd sort of spot in terms of the end for their Group A qualifying. And then depending on where they land, if they come 4th, they'll play probably the Swiss. And if they come 3rd, they'll probably play a team like the Czechs or Team Japan. But I'm very curious to see where the Russians are going to land this year. Obviously, this is the first game we've seen them play, as they did not play yesterday due to obviously the schedule not being in their favor, and they get the first day off, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. I think it might actually be a good thing for the Russians in the long run, getting that first day off. Starting to see what their competition is, getting the rest day for any other team does get their rest day can and may not be a bad thing for them. But we'll move on to game number 2, and this was the big surprise of the day with China knocking off Denmark 3-1. And it surprised me, I must say, just because the Chinese weren't expected to win any games this year, and especially in this tournament where they were even considering dropping out of the tournament in the first place because they didn't really field the team that was looked upon as a contending team. So I thought that was very interesting to see them finally win a game. They did dominate play for the entire game, much like their game yesterday, but they finally learned to score. And they did end up winning 3-1 was the final result of that game. And they dominated, as I said. Without them dominating, they're not going to win games. They have to outskate the other teams, because the truth is they're not as sort of depth in terms of their scoring as some of the other teams in Group B. They need to, if they can finish, they're going to win a lot of games, because really they outplay all their opponents. They work harder than their opponents, much similar to a team like Japan, where they might not have all the talent in the world, but they're going to work harder than you every night, and eventually they will pull through and score the goals that they so much deserve. So take a look at the standings of day 2. So Canada, the US, and Russia all leading the pack with 1 win, which equals to 3 points, because they are using the European sort of scoring metric of 3 for a win, 2 for the overtime win, 1 point for the overtime loss rather, and 0 points for the regulation loss. With that, Canada, US, Russia all with 3 points with the regulation win. Finland is in 4th with 1 regulation loss, and Switzerland with 2 regulation losses. But it doesn't really matter where they end up, because it's more for seeding. So obviously you would like to end up a little higher in your own group, but it's not necessarily life or death for the tournament-wise. Take a look at Group B, and this is the one where it really does matter, because only the top 3 teams make it through to the quarterfinals. So the Czech and Japan both have 1 win, 1 regulation win, so they do have the 3 points. China's in 3rd with 1 regulation win and 1 regulation loss, so that puts them at 3 points as well. Denmark and Sweden both coming up the rear with only 1 regulation loss. Definitely exciting times. Obviously, just the start of the first day. The Olympic ceremonies have just begun. So I am very much looking forward to see what happens in the next games coming up. And take a look at the schedule for today. We have Canada against Finland at 11:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Denmark, Japan, 3:40 Eastern Standard Time. Sweden, Czech, same time, 3:40. And finally, the game for, I guess you could call it tomorrow, was the U.S. and Russia at 8:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that being said, obviously, exciting times for the Olympics. Looking forward to seeing what else comes. And the big time news story headline of today was China winning their first ever Olympic game. In terms of hockey, of course, they've won other Olympic events, but in terms of their hockey, very first win, so congrats to them. Congrats to Hockey China for all their hard work and finally learning how to put the puck in the net. So if you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. If you'd like to drop a like, if you really like to, consider subscribing. Tell our friends in the comment down below your thoughts on day 2 of the Winter Olympics. Until next time, see ya.